we were talking about influencers. Wall Street Journal had a great article about social media influencers aren't getting rich. They're barely getting by. This on the heels of Vivek Murthy, the Surgeon General, who recommended that we put warning labels on all of our social media. What's that going to mean to people who are trying to get rich as social media influencers?
For the youth in particular.
For the youths. Yeah, exactly. And you've got millions of Gen Z and Gen Alpha youths that are dreaming of being online influencers. Why? Why do so many dream of that when the reality is breaking through is nearly impossible? Did you have a thought? Because I've got plenty on this.
I have a few thoughts.
Go ahead.
I'd liken it to the lottery. I mean, why do people buy lotto tickets when they know the chance of winning is what, 1 in hundreds of millions?
Yeah, but $2 on a lottery ticket versus I'm going to spend all my free time trying to make this happen seems a whole lot like more of an investment.
And to me, influencing is a lot like the lottery. It seems as easy as doing something you love every day, but the chances of winning or making that $100,000 a year are fairly infinitesimal. You've got people out there now. There was one influencer in particular. They said he recently hit a new low, receiving only $120 for a video with 10 million views on it.
What?
So he's got 10 million views on one video. He made $120.
Some company they made oh my gosh, that's the best deal in influencing there.
The other thing I'd say real quick, Chris, and I want to hear all of your thoughts on it, is it beats getting a real job too, to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Think about,
I agree.
I mean, I'll admit this. How many days do you wake up and you just think to yourself, man, I'd like to be my own boss? How great would that be if I didn't have to work for the man and I could just go into business for myself?
Winning.
I think influencing is a lot like that. It beats getting a real job. You can wake up, you can post videos, you can do whatever the heck you want. We think about all the positives to it.
Winning.
We don't think about the downsides of can I really take vacation? Am I going to have health care? What happens if I get hurt? All those things. So it beats getting a real job. And a dream many have is being able to be their own boss. All they have to do is sit there, be an influencer. The problem is, I don't think so many of these influencers realize they would still have a boss. Your boss is YouTube. Your boss is TikTok. Your boss is Instagram. Those companies are in business for themselves, and they have all these funds to pay influencers. But as more people enter this space, they're going to tweak the rules to benefit their businesses, not you. You've got to constantly evolve, grow your numbers, and play their game, which you may not necessarily know until they've changed the rules.
And that's one of the things we're finding out, too, about some of these places. For instance, TikTok has actually changed the rules. They set up a fund to try to bring influencers in, and then some influencers were making money, and TikTok said, oh, we're changing the rules, and now they keep more of it. So much so that here you've got a guy that's got 10 million people watching his video and he makes $100.
Yeah.
That's insane to me.
And they're doing that because they can.
How much should somebody get if they are reaching 10 million people? Just one. Now, again, we talk reach and frequency. There's two different things, right?
Yeah.
How many you're reaching and how often. One instance, but 10 million people. That's got to be worth what? $100,000?
Here's the problem. If
10 grand at the very least, right?
If you're YouTube or TikTok or Instagram, you get to set what it's worth.
Unless you are working a contract on the side with that company individually. If you're using those as an agency, and listen, I know this is going to be a little bit in the weeds here because now we're talking about marketing, we're talking about behind the scenes. If you are relying on YouTube to be your clearinghouse, then you kind of take whatever they hand to you. And people that have web experience know you get Google ads, you just kind of take whatever they hand you. But if you sell a spot on your website, you get that proceed, right? So if you are working out a deal specifically with a company as an influencer, you're going to make a whole lot more than if you take whatever scraps TikTok is going to throw your way.
You've got to kind of be an entrepreneur, and you've really got to have a business mind to make this work, as well as being ultra creative and coming up with something where you mentioned that theater background. For me, it was radio. You've got to tap into a lot of different skills to really be a successful influencer. It's not as simple as, well, I woke up and I got a bunch of views. Like, okay, well, how do you turn that into something?
So all of that being said means that being a successful influencer is almost impossible. But then it brings me back to why. Why do we want to? I think you had a great point when you said it beats
working for the man.
Right. And I liken this to those childhood dreams we had. For me, it was I wanted to be an actor, right? And still, what we do is radio. And the worst day in radio is better than the best day roofing in the middle of Arizona. So for you roofers, I have the utmost respect.
It's only 100 degrees right now.
So like these childhood dreams of being a pro athlete or a musician or any other celebrity, an actor, whatever else it is, these dreams, they seem attainable at the time. And the rewards, they seem like dreams come true. You think I can do that. But the reality is there are a million people walking the streets of LA that moved to Los Angeles to break out and be an actor. Mm-hmm. There are tens of thousands of incredibly talented musicians walking the streets in Nashville just waiting to be discovered. And it's normal, I think, to want to dream and to chase those dreams. And I think chasing dreams is even healthy. It motivates us. It makes us better. We learn focus. We learn how to hone a craft, whatever that is. But the reality is a real bore. It is hard. It is hard to break through. And it's not even necessarily if you're good enough. It's about who you know, not what you know, right? Mm-hmm. And these are the realities that young people learn along the way. And the thing is, it doesn't matter what profession you're in. They're going to have to learn those things along the way. So, yeah, dream away. So many continue to dream because it beats a real job. They see mom and dad who go to work every day in an office or whatever, and they go, I don't want to do that. But the reality is when mom and dad were 16, they didn't want to do that either. They got to the point where they needed the paycheck because they had you. And they wanted to have a car and a house, and they wanted to put you into a nice school, and they wanted to make sure the bills were paid, and you could turn the air on when it was 115 degrees, right? That's why mom and dad do that.
Think about you mentioned being a street performer in Nashville or, Vegas or wherever you want to go out there.
Yeah.
But it's not a real street. Imagine it being a virtual street, and opposed to one or two new acts showing up to compete with you, there's 1,000.
Yeah.
And you're dealing with 1,000 people who you don't even necessarily get to see every day.
Right.
And you don't see your audience, so you don't know how they're reacting to your content. You might see some comments.
Yeah.
But you're trying to take this guess of, well, okay, how do I have to tweak what I'm doing to bring in more companies who like what I do, to keep the views coming in on the TikToks, the Instagrams, and the YouTubes of the world. Maybe there's a new platform that's going to become a big thing. I mean, Chris, you don't even know about Boondoggle. It could take off in a few months.
And that's a good point. You made a point yesterday that I thought was really good, is that so many parents are still wet behind the ears when it comes to the emerging media, that sort of thing, that oftentimes as parents, we don't even know how necessarily to guide our kids if they come and say, I want to be an influencer. The one thing I will say is, as a parent, don't crush their dreams, but also make sure they're safe. And that's what I think the Surgeon General was trying to be sure of when he was saying we need to label the social media sites with a Surgeon General's warning, saying it could be detrimental to one's mental health. You might be shaking your head and judging the kids these days for wanting to make money without producing anything tangible, and it's understandable. My parents had the same problem. Joe's parents had the same problem. I like to shake my head at the kids these days, too, but then I realize, oh, crap, I've just turned into my father.
Thanks for watching The Chris and Joe Show. Click to see more from Chris and Joe, and tap the button in the middle to subscribe to KTAR News.